All right, I got into metal music when I was around 10. My parents were always into heavier music, whether it be AC/DC or Scorpions. And they were also into Metallica. And this was the early 90s, so the Black Album had just come out. And I remember them buying that and playing it often. And I became interested in Metallica through that, which then led me to Ride the Lightning, which I borrowed from a friend. And then Ride the Lightning turned into And Justice for All. And then Master of Puppets, and then I got into Megadeth, and then I followed the usual trajectory as many people my age did. I will say that I did beat the cutoff for nu metal by a few years, and so when nu metal got popular in the mid-90s, I was very much not into it. I was very much a hardcore metal dude who only wanted death, black, thrash metal, anything heavy. I was not into Korn, Limp Bizkit, or any of their fellow bands. So albums that stuck out to me around that time, Rest in Peace by Megadeth was my favorite album for the longest time. Among the Living by Anthrax, Beneath the Remains, Sepultura, Seasons in the Abyss, Slayer, Power Slave by Maiden, Painkiller by Priest. I'd say those are probably the ones that are my first favorite albums. And then from there, I discovered the European metal scene, which then eventually led me to Paradise Lost and bands of their ilk. I have been writing about metal since 2002. I've always enjoyed writing. Whether I'm any good at it remains to be seen, but I remember being, as a freshman in college, just randomly emailing a few zines saying, hey, if you need anyone to write reviews, I'd be happy to do so. And a few people got back to me, and my very first magazine gig was with one called Throat Culture, which was out of Colorado. And the guy, whose name is Rod, really nice guy, sent me a whole stack of CDs through the mail. And this was, of course, pre-internet link days, so you got a whole stack of cardboard promos and full CDs, which I thought was the greatest thing in the world, and I just wrote reviews off of that. So yeah, and it wasn't very long since I became a metal fan and a writer. I got into metal around 92, and I started writing about metal in 2002, so 10 years. So that was a good developmental period to sort of understand what goes on in the genre. Yeah, blistering.com was great. I did not start the site. A guy named Rob Cotter started Blistering, but I joined the Blistering staff in late 2003. And it was great because it was a site that had a lot of visibility at the time. And this was really before the big wave of websites came in where everyone started writing about metal. So it was great. It was sort of the same deal as before. Got a lot of free CDs, which is really what I was after, and got to improve my writing skills. And the site was very well connected to some of the bigger labels, which helped me meet people at Century Media or Nuclear Blast, or I even got to interview KK Downing from Judas Priest, which was a big thrill. So doing those things was a lot of fun. That whole period, like 2004 to 2006, when metal was going through another resurgence, was a lot of fun. It was very busy times, always new bands to review. And of course, that's when bands like Shadows Fall and Lamb of God and Killswitch were getting popular. And then, you had the Euro bands like Scandinavian bands like In Flames and Dark Tranquillity and Slayer were getting big. So yeah, it was a great time to be a metal writer. The state of U.S. The media, metal media in the U.S. today, I'd say it's pretty strong. We have Decibel magazine's the big one here in the States, and you have Revolver, but Decibel is definitely the lead dog, if you will. It's a great magazine. It will be celebrating 20 years, I think, next year in 2024. Albert and everyone there are just some of the greatest people you'd ever want to meet. They have great taste. They write great stuff. The magazine's fun to read. I've been a subscriber since 2006, 2007, something like that. So it's I'd say it's very strong. I mean, all over the place. I mean, there's no shortage of great writers wherever you look. It's just a matter of sifting through everything that's out there and finding the stuff you want to read. So I'd say the state of the metal media in the United States is pretty strong. Yeah, my first book about noise records came out in 2017. It was a very big project. I probably bit off more than I could chew to do the noise book. It was a huge learning experience. You learn a lot about project management when doing your own book. I didn't have a publisher, so it was self-published over here in the States. I did get a publishing deal for Germany through Iron Pages, but it was very much a self-funded, self-directed thing. I met Karl Walterbach in 2013 because he had gotten back into music management, and I found out that he had quite a few great stories to tell. And as we all know, a lot of bands that were on Noise had a difficult time being on the label, so I thought it was a great idea for a story, and it took me 3 years to assemble. I learned, as I said, I learned so much from it, from the self-publishing angle, but even just from the writing angle alone, and those are lessons I applied to future books. I'm very proud of it. There's still some things I would change about it, so maybe when I find the time I may tweak the noise book a little bit and put it back out, but that's probably on the back burner for a little bit. Yeah, the Paradise Lost biography came out in late 2019. I think it was pretty well received. PL has a very dedicated group of fans, and they seem to take to it very well. Got a lot of nice feedback about the story. The interesting thing about PL is that they don't have a lot of the drama that you would normally associate with a band biography. So I think a lot of the fans were just in it to learn about the music and the backgrounds of the members. And that was really what I was hoping to accomplish with the book, as well as really taking a thorough look into each of the albums that they did. But yeah, I got a lot of great feedback on it. Some people, as with anything, if you put something out, you may get a little negative feedback, and I did, but that was okay. But it seemed like people enjoyed the book. Yeah, it's great seeing your book in a different language, especially now with Czech. So everyone here at MetalGate has done such a nice job. It's been a pleasure to work with everyone there. Let's see here. There's a German version, there's a Portuguese version, there's a French version, and I'm likely missing one or two other ones. But yeah, it's pretty great seeing your works translated into different languages. Metal is such a universal thing that it's so great that a band like Paradise Lost has fans in these territories and people are willing to translate it. Yeah, the PL guys didn't need a great deal of convincing, actually. When I approached them, I think I came to them around 2018 with the idea to do the book because it coincided with their 30th anniversary. They were really easy to work with, and so was their management, Northern Music. I just presented a brief as to how I thought the book should unfold and how we would do it. And they signed on. We had a few financial particulars to work out, but that wasn't an issue. But no, they were all gung-ho. Greg was the guy who I spoke to the most out of it. He was really enthusiastic about doing it. He always said, like, you know, it was like a history lesson for him or a examination of his life. So I always thought that was really fun, talking to Greg and Aaron and Nick and Steve and all the drummers they've had. It was an absolute blast putting it together. Yeah, sort of the same thing as the question 8. They were really cooperative, really fun to work with. I always look forward to chatting with them. I always learned something new. I love their sense of humor, actually, which was really great. That whole Northern England sense of humor was really funny. They are, I wouldn't say they have a pessimistic outlook on life, but they are very realistic. I think there's something very charming about that. So yeah, you learn a great deal just by talking to these guys and their outlook on lives. You know, the thing with Paradise Lost is they've had all this great success, but they never view themselves as being above or greater than anyone else. They're very humble about what they've accomplished. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why they've been able to keep on going for so long, is that they have kept their feet on the ground for so long. Yeah, I mean, for question 10, I had no interactions with the band going into the book. I had interviewed Nick and Greg just on separate occasions, but never once discussed doing a book. So I think that may have helped me, actually, not having a personal relationship with the band, because then you could separate that from the business aspect of it. So yeah, it was clear I'm very passionate about Paradise Lost, but at the same time, it's not like I'm drinking buddies with any of the guys too, which helped give the book hopefully a very balanced viewpoint. Some things, I'm very passionate about with them, especially some albums more so than others, and I think that's shown through a little bit. But no, none of my personal views ever really got in the way of working together there. Yeah, I got into PL around 97. Actually, when 1 Second came out, I remember seeing it in, we all can remember, Columbia House, which was a mail order record company where you can get like 12 CDs for a penny or something like that. And I saw the cover of 1 Second. I had seen a review of 1 Second in Metal Maniacs magazine, which was a popular magazine over here in the States, and talking about their transition. And I was only 15 at the time, and that piqued my interest, and I ordered it. And it's definitely not the introductory album you want for PL, but it's an amazing album. I absolutely love it. There are the title track, Say Just Words, and Disappear, and Mercy. Incredible songs. It's such a risk taker of an album. It's so bold, and I think that's why it's so great. So it's I love 1 Second. Yeah, PL was over here in the States, and they may agree with this, is that they never blew up big in the States, and that's just because they haven't toured here quite a bit. So they're still very much a cult kind of band in a way. They have a very dedicated fan base here, but they're not huge by any stretch. And I don't know if they've had a breakthrough yet over here in the States. I don't know if that will come. They've been around for so long that it would take a lot of hard work for them to do so. But they are very much loved over here. They don't have a gigantic audience. That's probably why I call them a cult curiosity. My favorite period of PL is probably the Icon/Draconian Times era. And I know Greg has sort of said the albums are a continuation of one another, and I probably have to agree with them on that. I think Draconian Times is the better of the two, but that whole song-oriented, melody-dominated type of songwriting that they were doing at the time is just amazing. And Nick's voice was that perfect mix of aggression and melody too. And the songs were dark and they were memorable. I remember getting Draconian Times when I was in high school and just not being able to wait for the next song to start, which is an experience I don't think we get to have very often with albums. That hasn't happened to me too many times, and that's probably why I love that period so much. Yeah, for question 14, host is, the band just did, Greg and Nick, I should say, just did their own band host. So I think that has sort of justified that whole host period around 1999. When it came out, it definitely was a very divisive album. People didn't know what to make of it, and the band was on a major label and trying to take that next step, and people just didn't get it. And Over time, though, we're now 23 years after the fact. I think Host is very much appreciated, and the band Nick and Greg are doing now is getting a lot of great reviews and accolades itself. So it's been pretty great to see. Yeah, PL coming back to their roots. That really started on the self-titled album on 2005, which I think is their most underrated here. But an album like The Plague Within, from top to bottom, that's like the most complete Paradise album of the latter day period. It offers sort of something for everyone in that regard. It was wise of them to return to their roots. I mean, they could have kept out there playing music in the vein of Host or Believe in Nothing, but at their core, the Nick and Greg and Steve and Aaron are metal guys, and that's where their fan base is, and them coming back to metal just made it sound even more fresh. It never feels like rehashed or tired when they do it either. It still sounds like they're a very motivated band with a lot of great ideas, and that's why sometimes when bands do a return to roots, it sounds forced and it doesn't sound very sincere, but when PL has done it, it really has translated very well. Yeah, the core lineup of the band, it just boils down to the fact that they're friends. Nick, Greg, Aaron, and Steve are friends at the end of the day, and they've been friends since school, and that's what's kept them together. And they don't take themselves too seriously. They've spent countless time on the road, so clearly they know how to get along. There's no big egos involved, and clearly they have a great system amongst one another, and friendship is really what's kept them together. And those guys will probably stay friends well after the band is done, although they don't show any signs of slowing down. Yeah, PL's status in the metal scene's long been established. I don't think anyone could question that they are goth metal innovators based on the album Gothic. And if we go through what they did on Shades of God or Icon or Draconian Times, those are all legendary albums. And then what they've been doing recently, up to as recently as Obsidian and then Medusa, those are now classic albums as well. They have their place. They are legends. There's no doubt about it. They don't have anything else to prove, but they keep on going, which is great. And lastly, what are my future prospects? I am about to wrap up a book on Scott Burns, who is the Floridian death metal producer of the 1990s, who did Death, Atheist, Cynic, Obituary, Malevolent Creation, Solstice. Just go down the line. Scott did all those bands, and that should be wrapped up here fairly soon and out later this year via Decibel Magazine. So looking forward to getting that done, and thank you so much for the questions.